The chessboard is a battlefield. On its 64 squares, wars are fought, empires rise and fall, and strategies unfold with precision and artistry. Among the pieces, one figure stands supreme, the Queen. Her power is unrivaled, her presence commanding, but it wasn't always this way. Hey guys, and welcome back to our channel. If you enjoy playing chess, consider subscribing to our channel. Also, feel free to comment down any chess tips you may have. In the early days of chess, the Queen was a modest piece. She moved cautiously, only one square diagonally, barely more powerful than a pawn. Her role was supportive, almost secondary. This reflected the societal norms of the time, a stark contrast to her current status as the most powerful force on the board. So how did this transformation happen? Around the 15th century, chess underwent a revolution. As the Renaissance swept through Europe, ideas about power, strategy, and even gender began to shift. The Queen, inspired by powerful female leaders of the time, such as Isabella of Castile, was given new life. Her movement expanded, mirroring the rise of women's influence in politics and culture. From a slow-moving piece, she became the unstoppable force we know today. This evolution wasn't just a change in rules, it was a statement. The Queen became a symbol of versatility, strength, and dominance, a piece that could single-handedly turn the tide of a game. She's the embodiment of possibility, capable of sweeping across the board to protect, attack, or control. The Queen's role today. Fast forward to modern chess, and the Queen is the ultimate weapon in a player's arsenal. She has the unique ability to move any number of squares in any direction, horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. This versatility makes her the most dangerous piece on the board, but also the most targeted. Her power demands respect. A game without the Queen often feels imbalanced, and her loss early in the game can be devastating. Yet, mastering her use is no easy feat. Over-reliance on the Queen can backfire, leaving her vulnerable to traps and sacrifices. A skilled player knows when to deploy her aggressively and when to hold her back, like a poised monarch waiting for the opportune moment to strike. A symbol of strategy and power. Beyond her mechanics, the Queen's role on the chessboard reflects deeper truths about life. She represents ambition, adaptability, and strength, but also vulnerability. Her power is most effective when supported by her allies, the pawns, knights, bishops, and rooks. Without them, even the Queen is just one piece on the board, easily outmaneuvered by a coordinated attack. The Queen is a leader, but she's not invincible. This balance of strength and dependency is what makes her such a compelling piece, not only in chess, but also as a metaphor for real life. She reminds us that power alone isn't enough. It must be wielded wisely and in harmony with those around us. Anatomy of power, understanding the Queen's role. The Queen is the ultimate force on the chessboard. Her ability to move any number of squares in any direction, horizontally, vertically, and diagonally, makes her unparalleled in range and versatility. Understanding how to use this power effectively is crucial to mastering the game. The Queen's unique abilities. On the surface, the Queen's strength lies in her range of movement. She combines the mobility of the rook and the bishop, allowing her to dominate vast stretches of the board. This makes her an invaluable asset in both offense and defense. However, with great power comes great responsibility. The Queen's versatility often leads to over-reliance, especially among beginner players. While it's tempting to bring her into the action early, this can leave her vulnerable to attack. Experienced players understand that the Queen thrives when supported by other pieces, working in tandem to control key areas of the board. The Queen in different phases of the game. The Queen's role evolves as the game progresses. Opening phase. During the opening, the Queen often stays in reserve. Developing pawns and minor pieces, knights and bishops, takes priority to establish control over the centre. Prematurely deploying the Queen can expose her to harassment by lesser pieces, causing you to waste valuable moves retreating her. However, the Queen can subtly influence the opening by supporting pawns or controlling long diagonals from her starting position. For instance, in the Sicilian defence, the Queen may back up an advancing pawn to help dominate the centre. Middle game. This is where the Queen truly shines. With the board more open, her mobility allows her to join attacks, exploit weaknesses, and create threats. Her ability to fork, attacking multiple targets at once, can be devastating. A well-timed Queen move can force your opponent into a defensive position, giving you the upper hand. For example, the Queen and Knight often form a deadly combination, complementing each other's movements. While the Knight can jump over obstacles and attack in L-shaped patterns, the Queen covers long distances to finish off vulnerable pieces. Endgame. In the endgame, the Queen becomes even more dominant. With fewer pieces on the board, her range is unchallenged. She can single-handedly deliver checkmate in many situations, often in tandem with a king or pawn. One classic endgame scenario involves promoting a pawn to a queen. This act, transforming a humble pawn into the most powerful piece, is a dramatic turning point that can secure victory. Strategic considerations. The Queen's power must be used judiciously. Here are some strategic insights to consider. Controlling the board. The Queen's reach allows her to influence multiple areas simultaneously. Positioning her in the centre maximizes her potential, as she can reach any part of the board more quickly. Coordination with other pieces. The Queen is most effective when working in harmony with other pieces. She can support rooks in controlling open files, bishops in exploiting diagonals, and knights in creating forks. Avoiding overexposure. While the Queen is powerful, she's also a prime target. Losing her early can cripple your chances of winning. Always calculate risks before committing her to an attack. Sacrificing the Queen. In rare cases, sacrificing the Queen can lead to a decisive advantage. Known as a Queen sacrifice, this bold move often shocks opponents and can result in checkmate or significant material gain. For example, in the famous Game of the Century between Donald Byrne and Bobby Fischer, Fischer sacrificed his Queen to unleash a sequence of attacks that led to victory. The Queen's role in famous games. Throughout history, the Queen has been at the center of some of the most iconic moments in chess. Kasparov vs. Topalov, 1999, known as the immortal game of the 21st century. Kasparov's Queen delivered a series of spectacular blows, weaving through enemy lines with surgical precision to secure victory. The Evergreen Game, 1852. In this classic match between Anderson and Dufresne, Anderson sacrificed his Queen to set up a stunning checkmate combination. The Psychology of the Queen, a mind game. Chess is not just a game of strategy, it's a battle of wits, nerves, and perception. Among all the pieces on the board, the Queen has the most profound psychological impact. She is a weapon of both power and intimidation, and how she is wielded often determines the mental edge in a game. The Queen's aura, fear and respect. The Queen commands respect from the moment the game begins. Her sheer power forces opponents to constantly calculate her potential moves, even when she's seemingly inactive. Players know that a single misstep can result in devastating consequences if the Queen is unleashed at the right moment. This creates an atmosphere of caution. Opponents often avoid opening lines that could expose them to the Queen's range, even if those lines are objectively strong. This psychological effect gives the player using the Queen an advantage, the ability to dictate the flow of the game without making a move. The risks of overconfidence. However, the Queen's power can be a double-edged sword. Beginners often fall into the trap of overconfidence, treating the Queen as an invincible force. They push her too far, too soon, and underestimate the dangers lurking in the opponent's setup. Experienced players know how to exploit this overconfidence. They set traps, luring the Queen into vulnerable positions where she can be pinned or sacrificed. Losing the Queen early in the game can be catastrophic, and the emotional toll of such a loss can shatter a player's focus. The Queen dependency syndrome. Another psychological pitfall is overdependency on the Queen. Players who rely too heavily on her often neglect the development of their other pieces. This leaves their position unbalanced and easy to exploit. Imagine a player who places all their hopes on their Queen, chasing pawns and harassing pieces across the board. Meanwhile, their opponent develops their knights, bishops, and rooks into a coordinated army. When the Queen inevitably falls into a trap, the player is left defenseless, a reminder that the Queen's power is greatest when she has a team behind her. The opponent's perspective, facing the Queen. For the opponent, the Queen represents both a threat and an opportunity. Her value is so high that capturing her can almost guarantee victory. This dynamic creates psychological pressure on both sides. Players facing an active Queen must constantly be on guard, calculating multiple possibilities with every move. The mental fatigue of this vigilance can lead to mistakes elsewhere on the board. Conversely, some players become so fixated on targeting the Queen that they miss the larger strategy, allowing their opponent to gain positional advantages. The Queen as a catalyst for creativity. When used correctly, the Queen becomes a creative force. Her range and versatility allow for imaginative plays that can catch even the most seasoned opponents off guard. The Queen is a piece of opportunity. She enables unexpected sacrifices, double attacks, and coordinated strikes. Take, for example, the famous game between Anatoly Karpov and Viktor Korchnoi in 1974. Karpov used his Queen to bait Korchnoi into an aggressive attack, only to reveal a hidden defensive resource that turned the tables. The Queen wasn't just a piece on the board, she was the star of a psychological drama. The emotional impact of losing the Queen. Losing the Queen is more than just a material disadvantage, it's an emotional blow. The Queen is often seen as the heart of a player's strategy, and her loss can feel like the collapse of an empire. This emotional reaction is so strong that some players resign immediately after losing their Queen, even if they still have chances to fight back. On the other hand, players who can maintain their composure after losing the Queen often find ways to turn the tables. The ability to adapt and think creatively without the Queen is a mark of true mastery. Psychological mastery. Staying in control. The key to psychological mastery of the Queen lies in balance. Players must respect her power without becoming over-reliant. They must value her presence, but not fear her loss. The best players use the Queen as part of a larger strategy, viewing her not as a crutch but as a tool. They understand that chess is a game of harmony, where every piece has a role to play. The Queen as a symbol. The Queen's dominance on the chessboard is more than a matter of strategy. It's a reflection of deeper truths about life, power, and relationships. Her ability to adapt, protect, and dominate parallels real-world leadership, personal growth, and human psychology. By understanding the Queen's symbolic significance, we can uncover profound lessons for life beyond the game. The Queen as a metaphor for empowerment. The Queen's journey from a modest piece in ancient chess to the most powerful figure mirrors the rise of empowerment, particularly for women. In a game where the king is the ultimate goal but remains largely passive, the Queen takes on the active role. She leads the charge, defends the king, and creates opportunities for victory. This duality of leadership, where the king represents stability and the Queen represents action, shows us that power isn't always about who holds the title. It's about who gets things done. The Queen reminds us that true strength lies in action, adaptability, and influence. In life, just as in chess, empowerment is about recognizing potential. A queen on the board starts as a pawn, advancing step by step until she's promoted. Her journey is a testament to perseverance and the rewards of reaching beyond initial limitations. The Queen and leadership, a balance of power. In leadership, the Queen embodies a balance of authority and responsibility. She is the most active piece, but her effectiveness depends on her relationship with other pieces. Alone, she can be powerful, but vulnerable. With support, she becomes unstoppable. This dynamic mirrors the role of a good leader in real life. A leader must inspire action and confidence, but they also need a team to succeed. The Queen's ability to work in tandem with rooks, bishops, knights, and pawns illustrates the importance of collaboration and trust. The Queen also teaches us about calculated risks. Great leaders know when to take bold actions, much like a queen's sacrifice on the chessboard. In moments of crisis, sacrificing short-term advantages for long-term success can make all the difference. Life's challenges, the Queen and adaptability. The Queen's versatility is her greatest strength. She can move in any direction, adapting to changing circumstances and seizing opportunities. Life, too, requires this kind of flexibility. Think about a time when you faced a crossroads. Like the Queen, you had to evaluate the possibilities, whether to move forward, retreat, or change direction entirely. The Queen's adaptability reminds us that success often comes from being open to change and making the most of what's in front of us. Even in difficult situations, the Queen symbolizes resilience. She's a fighter, navigating complex positions and finding ways to stay relevant in the game. This resilience is a reminder to keep moving, even when the odds seem stacked against us. The Queen as a partner, a reflection of relationships. The Queen's role in protecting the king is a powerful metaphor for partnerships. While the king is the ultimate goal of the game, he depends on the Queen's strength to survive. This dynamic reflects real-life relationships, where balance and support are key. The Queen doesn't just protect the king, she complements him. Together they represent a partnership where each brings unique strengths to the table. This synergy is what makes them effective, both on the board and in life. It's also worth noting that the Queen's power doesn't diminish the value of other pieces. The pawns, knights, bishops, and rooks all contribute to the game's outcome. In relationships too, success comes from recognizing the value of everyone's role, no matter how big or small. Historical parallels, the Queen in reality. The chess queen's rise to prominence coincided with the influence of powerful historical figures, such as Queen Elizabeth I of England and Isabella of Castile. These leaders, much like their chess counterpart, broke conventions and reshaped the world around them. Consider Queen Elizabeth I, known for her sharp intellect and political acumen. She ruled in a male-dominated world, much like the Queen's dominance on a chessboard full of male pieces. Her reign showed that strength and strategy often come from adaptability and vision. Similarly, the rise of the Queen in chess during the Renaissance reflected the growing acknowledgement of women's roles in society. The game became a canvas for expressing broader cultural shifts, with the Queen as its most dynamic figure. Lessons in personal growth. The Queen's journey from pawn to powerhouse is a metaphor for personal growth. Every pawn has the potential to become a queen, but it requires perseverance, strategy, and risk-taking. This transformation teaches us that greatness isn't handed to us, it's earned. The path is rarely easy, often requiring sacrifices and overcoming obstacles. But like the pawn's journey across the board, the rewards of persistence are immense. Life also teaches us that not every step forward is a straight line. Sometimes, we must navigate diagonally, like the Queen, finding creative solutions to challenges. The ability to think outside the box is often the key to unlocking new opportunities. The chessboard as a mirror of life. The chessboard is a microcosm of life, and the queen is its most dynamic player. She represents the potential we all have to lead, adapt, and rise above challenges. But she also reminds us that power must be wielded wisely. Every move matters. Every decision shapes the outcome. The queen's ability to navigate complexity and seize opportunities reflects the mindset we need to succeed in the real world. Mastering the queen. The queen is often the most pivotal piece in a chess game, but harnessing her full potential requires skill, strategy, and a touch of creativity. In this section, we'll explore practical tips, tricks, and tactics to maximize the queen's impact, along with illustrative examples from classic games. Essential queen tactics. The queen's versatility makes her a tool for some of the most powerful tactics in chess. Here are a few essential plays every player should know. Forks. The queen's ability to target multiple pieces at once is a game changer. A fork involves placing the queen in a position where she simultaneously attacks two or more opponent pieces. For example, positioning the queen to attack the king and an unprotected rook can lead to significant material gain. Pins and skewers. The queen can pin an opponent's piece to a more valuable target, such as the king or queen, making it impossible to move without dire consequences. A skewer, on the other hand, involves attacking a valuable piece, like the king, forcing it to move and exposing a less valuable piece behind it. Double attacks. Similar to forks, the queen's range allows her to threaten multiple areas of the board simultaneously. Combining this with the threat of check can force the opponent into uncomfortable positions, often leading to mistakes. Queen-driven checkmates. The queen is a powerful checkmating tool, especially when paired with other pieces. Common patterns include the back rank mate, using the queen to deliver checkmate along the opponent's back rank, often when their king is trapped by its own pawns. The ladder mate, coordinating with a rook to force the king along a series of squares until it is checkmated. Sacrifices, when to trade the queen. Trading the queen is one of the boldest decisions a player can make. While counterintuitive, sacrificing the queen can open paths to victory if done at the right moment. Positional sacrifices. Sacrificing the queen to create a decisive positional advantage is a hallmark of advanced play. For instance, giving up the queen to lure the opponent's king into an exposed position can lead to a swift checkmate. Material sacrifices. In some cases, trading the queen for two or more minor pieces can result in a favorable endgame. The value of the queen is relative to the position. If her loss strengthens your overall position, the sacrifice may be worth it. Psychological sacrifices. Sacrificing the queen can also unsettle your opponent, forcing them to rethink their strategy and potentially leading to mistakes. In games where time pressure is a factor, a surprising sacrifice can be especially effective. The queen's role in coordination. The queen is most effective when working alongside other pieces. Here's how she complements each. With rooks. The queen and rooks form a formidable duo, particularly in open positions. Together they can control files and ranks, creating overwhelming pressure on the opponent. With knights. The queen's long-range capabilities pair well with the knight's unique movement. This combination is particularly effective for creating forks and attacking multiple targets. With bishops. The queen and bishops excel in controlling diagonals. Placing them on opposite color squares maximizes their reach, making it difficult for the opponent to defend. With pawns. A queen supporting a pawn's promotion is one of the most decisive endgame tactics. Conversely, pawns can shield the queen from attacks, allowing her to maintain her dominance. Common mistakes with the queen. Premature deployment. Bringing the queen out too early is a common beginner mistake. It exposes her to attacks from lesser pieces and disrupts the natural development of other pieces. Overextension. Overcommitting the queen to an attack can leave her isolated and vulnerable. Always ensure the queen has an escape route before making aggressive moves. Neglecting defense. While the queen is often an offensive piece, she's also a valuable defender. Using her to support your king or guard critical squares can prevent devastating attacks. Illustrative games. Learning from the masters. Fischer vs. Byrne, 1956. The game of the century. Bobby Fischer, just 13 years old at the time, demonstrated the queen's potential through a brilliant sacrifice. His queen's sacrifice lured Byrne into a trap, allowing Fischer's remaining pieces to deliver a stunning checkmate. Kasparov vs. Topalov, 1999. In this game, Kasparov used his queen to orchestrate a series of tactical blows, culminating in a brilliant finish. The queen's mobility and coordination with other pieces were on full display. Anderson vs. Kieseritzky, 1851, the immortal game. Anderson's queen sacrifice set the stage for one of the most famous combinations in chess history. This game is a masterpiece of creativity and calculated risks. Practical exercises for mastering the queen. Practice forks. Set up positions where the queen can fork multiple targets. Work on identifying these opportunities quickly. Coordinate attacks. Play practice games focusing on the queen's synergy with other pieces, especially knights and rooks. Endgame drills. Practice common endgame scenarios involving the queen, such as checkmating with a queen and king versus a lone king. The queen's perspective. Let's step beyond the rules and strategies of chess and enter a world where the pieces themselves come alive. Imagine the queen, a figure of grace, power, and ambition, reflecting on her role in the grand battle that is chess. This is her story. The awakening. The board was silent, the calm before the storm. The queen stood in her corner, flanked by her loyal pawns and under the watchful eye of her king. She could feel the weight of the game ahead, the expectation, the responsibility, the thrill of what was to come. I am the spearhead, she thought. The hope of the kingdom lies with me. Her gaze swept across the board, taking in the symmetry of the opposing army. The enemy queen mirrored her stance, a rival of equal strength but unknown skill. The air was thick with tension, the kind that only comes before the first move. And then the game began. The opening moves. In the early stages, the queen observed from her position. The pawns marched forward, claiming territory, creating lines of defense. The knights danced across the board, leaping over pawns with calculated precision. The queen's role for now was to wait. She knew her time would come, it always did. Patience, she reminded herself. The strongest strike is the one they don't see coming. But even in stillness, she influenced the game. Her mere presence shaped the opponent's moves. The enemy pawns hesitated to advance too far, knowing the queen could pounce at any moment. She was a shadow on the battlefield, her power implied rather than unleashed. The middle game, a call to action. The board grew chaotic as the middle game unfolded. Pieces clashed and fell, and the queen knew it was her time to act. She stepped forward, bold and commanding. Her presence immediately shifted the balance of power. Opposing bishops retreated, rooks adjusted their positions, and pawns scrambled to block her path. She worked in harmony with her army. A knight flanked an unsuspecting bishop, forcing it to move. This opened a diagonal line for her to attack. The enemy queen intervened, and for a moment their gazes locked across the board. "This is my territory," the enemy queen seemed to say. But the queen was undeterred. She advanced with calculated aggression, forcing her opponent into a defensive stance. Her presence on the battlefield was no longer a suggestion, it was a declaration. The sacrifice. Then came the moment every queen fears but must be prepared for, the possibility of sacrifice. Her king, under threat, required her intervention. The enemy's rooks and bishops closed in, creating a deadly web of attacks. The queen saw the trap and knew what had to be done. "I can end this," she thought. "But it will cost me everything." With a bold move, she positioned herself between the king and the enemy forces. The opposing pieces descended on her like wolves, but she had already set her plan in motion. Her sacrifice created an opening for her rooks and knights to deliver a counterattack. The enemy was unprepared for the ferocity of her army's response. While they celebrated her capture, the battlefield shifted. In just a few moves, the enemy king was cornered, left defenseless by the absence of their queen. The endgame, legacy and triumph. Though she was gone from the board, her influence lingered. Her sacrifice had turned the tide of the game, and her king now stood on the brink of victory. The final moments were swift and decisive. Her rooks, pawns and knights executed the strategy she had enabled, delivering the final blow to the opposing king. The game was over, a triumph born of her bravery and foresight. Reflection. The Queen's lesson. As the board was reset for the next game, the Queen's thoughts lingered on her role. She was more than a piece, she was the heart of the battle, the one who carried the burden of both offense and defense. Her power was undeniable, but it was her ability to inspire and coordinate that truly made her great. The Queen teaches us that leadership is about more than dominance. It's about timing, sacrifice, and the ability to adapt. It's about knowing when to strike and when to retreat, when to stand firm, and when to step aside for the greater good. On the chessboard, as in life, the Queen is a reminder that true power is not in what we can do alone, but in what we enable others to achieve. 7. Conclusion. The endgame and beyond. The Queen's journey on the chessboard mirrors the complexities of life, full of power, sacrifice, and collaboration. As we wrap up this exploration, we'll reflect on her role in the endgame, her lessons for players, and her enduring symbolism in chess and beyond. The Queen in the endgame. A closer look. The endgame is where the board is stripped to its essentials. Few pieces remain, and every move carries the weight of finality. Here, the Queen becomes the ultimate closer, a piece that can dominate an open board with her unmatched range and versatility. The Queen's role in the endgame often revolves around delivering checkmate or supporting pawn promotion. Her ability to single-handedly restrict the opposing king's movement makes her an invaluable asset. A queen and king working together can trap a lone king in a corner, ending the game with elegance and efficiency. One of the most celebrated endgame strategies is the pawn promotion, where a lowly pawn advances to the final rank and transforms into a queen. This transformation is a moment of triumph, encapsulating the idea that persistence and vision can turn the smallest beginnings into the greatest rewards. Lessons from the Queen, on and off the board. The Queen's journey is filled with lessons that extend far beyond chess. Versatility and adaptability. The Queen thrives because she can move in any direction, adapting to the needs of the moment. In life, adaptability is just as crucial. The ability to pivot, adjust, and find creative solutions often determines success. Power in collaboration. While the Queen is powerful on her own, her true strength emerges when working with others. Chess teaches us that even the strongest leader needs a team to succeed. Coordination, trust, and mutual support are essential in both games and relationships. The art of sacrifice. The Queen's willingness to sacrifice herself for the greater good is one of her most profound qualities. In life too, great achievements often require us to let go of immediate gains for long-term rewards. Her sacrifice is a reminder that courage and selflessness can turn the tide of any challenge. Leadership with grace. The Queen embodies both strength and elegance. Her role as a leader on the board is not just about dominating, but about guiding and enabling the other pieces to thrive. This is the mark of true leadership, empowering others while maintaining your own presence and purpose. The Queen as a symbol of empowerment. Beyond the chessboard, the Queen has become a symbol of empowerment, resilience, and leadership. Her rise to prominence reflects broader cultural shifts, from the Renaissance era to today's conversations about gender equality and leadership. The Queen's journey reminds us that power isn't always inherited. Sometimes it's earned through action, perseverance, and the willingness to take risks. She's a metaphor for anyone striving to rise above challenges, proving that greatness is possible no matter where you start. The Queen's enduring legacy. The Queen's role in chess is timeless, whether she's dominating a middle game attack, delivering a decisive checkmate, or sacrificing herself for victory. Her impact on the board is unparalleled. She represents the complexity and beauty of chess itself, a game where intellect, strategy, and creativity converge. The Queen is more than a piece. She's a lesson, a symbol, and an inspiration. She challenges us to think critically, act boldly, and adapt endlessly. As we leave the chessboard behind, let's carry the Queen's lessons with us. She teaches us that power is most effective when used with intention, that leadership is about enabling others, and that resilience and adaptability can overcome any obstacle. So, the next time you sit down at a chessboard, take a moment to appreciate the Queen, not just for her unmatched power, but for the wisdom she brings to the game and the lessons she offers for life. The Queen reigns supreme, not just on the board, but in the hearts and minds of those who dare to play the game. Long may she reign.